thank you very much for being with us. This is not a new feeling for you. First, do you still feel that way after the last couple of days, and why?
I feel even more adamant over the last couple of days than I did a year ago. Obviously, we saw what we saw during the debate. There's no doubt about that. By the way, there's an echo in my ear. I apologize if somebody could get rid of that. But anyway,
you sound great.
I saw what I saw a year ago. We know what we've seen since that time. We know how awful the debate performance was. He acknowledged that. First, we heard it was sleep deprivation. Then we heard it was jet lag. We heard actually it was a cold before the jet lag, and all of this other stuff. In the end, here's what it comes down to. If you're a liberal, if you're a progressive, if you're somebody on the left, Joe Biden is to be respected and appreciated. 36 years of service in the Senate, 8 years as vice president, 4 additional years as the president of the United States of America. That's 48 years. I'm not looking at his age because I think Nancy Pelosi, if I remember correctly, is 84 years of age. No one would accuse her of declining cognitively or anything like that. It's not about his age. It's about him. And I say that respectfully. And I think we find ourselves in a situation where it should be okay for us to say, Mr. President, we appreciate your service to this country. It's time for somebody else. And 4 years ago, he said, hey, I'm a stopgap to pave the way for a younger generation. Well, guess what? Kamala Harris is younger. Gavin Newsom is younger. Wes Moore is younger. Hakeem Jeffries is younger. There's a host of people in politics, despite the 28 senators and I believe 73 U.S. representatives that exceed the age of 70, there's still 400 plus additional elected officials that are under the age of 70. He's 81 going on 82. There comes a point in time where it's okay to say, your time is up.
Well, there's no rule, but it's not age, it's stage. I hear you. 2 questions, one practical, one philosophical. The practical one, but the Democrats voted. They had a primary process, incomplete as it was, pathetic as it was, and 80-something million of them voted. And now you're going to negate their votes? And this is supposed to be the party that's worried about the demise of democracy? And you're just going to have him gone and just pick him by smoky room and give it to Kamala Harris? How is that democracy?
Well, in fairness to a lot of people out there, they've been proclaiming that it can't happen. It's too late for that. But it's not impossible. OK, what's impossible is to imagine looking at him and thinking that he's going to go 4 additional years without more of a precipitous drop off. And that's the priority here. And so I look at it and I say to myself, whether it's Kamala Harris or somebody else, it's really about him and what he's capable of giving us for 4 more years. Now, if you're saying just get through 4 more months and win the election, then admit it. But if you're saying 4 more years, there's nothing that we've seen from him that tells us that we should look forward to 4 more years.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Here's the philosophical problem. What is a better gamble? That Biden makes it 4 more years in some way, and if he can't, then there's enough fill-in with the team and with the VP, that it is still a better gamble than Donald Trump, who seems to be promising more every time he is in hiding, that he's going to go on a jihad when he becomes president of the United States?
Well, first of all, let me get this out the way. There's no way in hell I'm voting for Donald Trump, for precisely the reason you just pointed out. I think there will be civil war in this country. I don't think he's going to provide any peace whatsoever. I don't think he's going to engage in unifying this nation. I think he's going to serve to divide. You know, that's my issue for him. It has nothing to do, I don't even get to his policies. It's him being the divisive force that he is and being such a narcissist that he doesn't prioritize the well-being of this country. He prioritizes his well-being. And I don't think anybody in the presidency should be thinking like that. But the flip side to it on a far more innocuous level, when the president is 81 years of age, approaching 82, and there's clear slippage, which you came on my show and I've articulated, as well as being on your own show here articulating, and you're going to look to the American people and say, I'm the best guy for the job, knowing you slipped, knowing you've got Kamala, knowing you've got other people within the Democratic Party that are clearly capable of doing the job, to take that position. Isn't that about what you think instead of what the American people think? After all, there was no primary. The Democrats pushed him right through. So I have a right as an American citizen, as a voter, as somebody who voted for that man, who would vote for him again despite how I feel, to articulate my reservations and apprehensions about what I'm seeing from this man. It's just the right thing to do, and I'm doing it.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of News Nation's fact-driven coverage.